CJ and Dan. And CJ, the heartstrings are now being pulled here in Canada as we're starting to see videos of Bo Bichette and his moments with the Jays. And it's always like, it wasn't supposed to end like this. Help us wrap our heads around Bo going to the Mets.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of a tough one when we come to find out what the Blue Jays ultimately offered, right? And those reports of 10 years and $350 million. I still wonder whether or not he's going to beat that over time. I know obviously this is a much higher AAV. It gives him more flexibility. It's why he took it. It's a trend that's happening in the game, but I'm a little bit surprised to see that it went down the way that it did. So that part is unfortunate. I think at the same time for the Jays, they've had such a great off season. It's not going to hurt maybe as much as it does right now because, as you mentioned, there's an emotional attachment to losing Bo Bichette, especially had they won that World Series and the big home run that he hit, plus everything he's done over the years. Like that might even stung a little bit more, or maybe it makes you feel better because you got the ring. Either way, a little bit surprising to see him not back in the uniform now that we know how aggressively they went after him. But the good news is for the Jays is that this team has had a great offseason. And you're always looking kind of for that reaction move, but I feel like they had theirs earlier. I don't know if there necessarily will be a reaction move. This felt like a reaction move, quite honestly, for the New York Mets to bring him in the way that they paid him to do it. But as much as there are teams out there with certain free agents that you felt like they have to have, this would have been a really nice piece to have. I don't feel like it was a must have necessarily for the Toronto Blue Jays. And so he'll certainly be missed. The good news is there's flexibility in that contract. So he might be a free agent again next year.
Yeah, I think what a lot of the fans are doing right now is saying goodbye, but I don't see a ton of tears and concern that this team is so much worse off because it seems like with the productive offseason they've had. Say a few words about this team. It seems to me it still might be better than it was last year from an offensive point of view. It might be better off entirely.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, we'll see whether or not Cody Bellinger is going to be in the picture for them as a possibility. Obviously, that would only make your team even better. But of course, you got to assume full health for Anthony Santander and how much he was missed last year. Not quite the same, even when he was healthy. I think you have a ton of momentum right now with this team. You have Ernie Clement, I think, playing with a different level of confidence now based on the postseason that he had. He was a good player, but I think he's going to be an even better player going forward as things started to get settled. Watching George Springer now DH. Vladdy's got his deal done, right? It's not going to be out there. I think you can feel pretty confident in this offense. The one thing, again, if they don't do anything else in the outfield with Addison Barger, is he going to be a platoon player? Will you give him opportunities against lefties? I think that's the one thing for John Schneider that if nothing changes on this roster, they'll have to manage really well and kind of figure out the best combination to get the best that they can and the most they can at a right field. But listen, losing a guy who hits the way that Bo Bichette does, it's hard to feel like, hey, would our offense be better without him? But I think with the way that things are kind of laying out right now, there's a real possibility that could happen.
How have we been able to just sit here and watch the Dodgers ruin baseball?
So I said at the beginning of the offseason on my radio show on XM, I said, do not be surprised if the Los Angeles Dodgers sign Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker. And it was because their payroll was actually down significantly from a year ago going into this offseason. Now, of course, they've blown well past that and they're up above $400 million. And it is difficult for fans. And we also have a CBA that's expiring this offseason in December, which only kind of creates and adds more fuel to the fire. I get the frustration, the short-term deals, the flexibility. They are an unbelievable financial powerhouse. I mean, there's no getting around it. They have the highest revenue-generating player in baseball in Shohei Ohtani. And I read something the other day that said about 70% of what they pull in from him comes from outside of the United States. Like they literally have their own version of Mr. Worldwide on the baseball side that actually brings in those dollars, and it's just unique. And there's no other player in baseball that can do that. And he clearly wanted to go there. And much like the Jays, as much as we'll talk about the money, the Dodgers have done such an excellent job of creating Los Angeles and playing for the Dodgers as a place that people want to be, and the way that they take care of families and the way that they take care of players. The Jays are doing the same thing. I think it's why they've had the great offseason that they've had. But if you're a fan of the Cincinnati Reds or the Cleveland Guardians, there's some real frustration watching the way that it's going to go down. And I think it's only going to lead to more fireworks this offseason.
And it's certainly not a lock, but it seems like Okamoto has the potential to replace a lot of that Bo Bichette offense, maybe play at a near to all-star level in the MLB and bring in so much of those international dollars to the Blue Jays because he was an absolute grade A superstar over in Japan, was he not?
Yeah, it helps. I mean, breaking into that market, I think, is something that a lot of organizations have tried harder to make happen for the exact reasons that you're talking about. We'll see. I mean, again, Shohei Otani is as unique as they come. What level of revenue will they start to see? Will they start to see more fans coming out? Are they tapping into a different part of their fan base that are now interested because a Japanese star has come over to play for the Toronto Blue Jays? We know the games are on, right? It go back all the way to 1995 when we first saw Hideo Nomo put on a big league uniform, and ironically enough, do it with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That kind of kicked things off as far as the appeal, what it meant for the fans in Japan, that they'll tune in the middle of the night to watch their superstars play here in the States. So I do think you'll get a bump. The thing that's so frustrating about our business and our game is that we never get, real numbers on that. Like, I'd love to know, what does that mean? What kind of money we're actually talking about? I had heard that when Shohei Otani was with the Angels, that number was somewhere around $20 million and annually, and why they didn't trade him. Because they probably should have toward the end of his contract before he became a free agent. They would have done really well, but there was something about the revenue that was coming in. I think that number is significantly higher with the Dodgers. I would assume for Okamoto that number might be a little bit lower. We'll see. I guess you never know, and nobody ever tells us. All right, we got to go on the rumors and find out, but there'll be impact. It's just really difficult to measure.
You mentioned one of the still available free agents, Cody Bellinger. He is the prized possession that remains. On the list still is Chris Bassett. Are his days with the Jays maybe going to continue still?
It's interesting. I don't know if the Jays feel like they need more depth, right? When you look at the starting rotation now, if they were go to a six-man, including Jose Barrios in that rotation, they could pull that off, right? Cody Ponce coming over from Korea, where he is used to kind of pitching with more rest in between starts. Is that a better benefit? Certainly would want to do it with a young pitcher like Trey Savage. If you bring Bassett in, somebody has to get pushed out. Maybe that means Barrios, who I think the trade value probably is not there right now, something we've talked about throughout the offseason. I don't know. I don't know if necessarily Chris Bassett or Justin Verlander or any of the veterans that would be on shorter term deals would make sense for the Jays right now. I still probably try to find a boost in the bullpen.
Wait, Verlander's in the mix so we could have Scherzer
No,
2.0?
well, I'm just being kind of league wide, right? There's all of these veterans that are still out there that are going to sign shorter term deals, most of them 1 year deals. Where if you're looking for maybe somewhat of an innings eater, and Verlander was good in the second half of the season, and the idea of him kind of chasing 300 wins and trying to be the last one to do it, it seems like it's going to be more of a long shot, but it certainly is a focus for him at this point in his career. So I put them all kind of in the same basket as a possibility. But I don't know if I'm the Jays, and I know that the options have gotten really thin. The one thing they didn't accomplish this winter was getting that closer that they wanted. Right? We know they put the money into Rodgers, and it was a big contract, but that's probably more of a worrisome spot for me right now on the pitching side than the rotation is.
Yeah, so but there doesn't really seem to be a way to address the closer need right now in the offseason market. Do you think they would be looking for a trade piece early in the season or throughout the season? Or they're just going to kind of run it back and see if some of the guys that faltered last year can kind of step it up a little bit?
Yeah, or bring in a twin brother and the other Rogers who could also help out, right? Not as a closer, but strengthening up your setup core. And then you guys can have fun
Sure.
trying to figure that out all year and who's who. I mean, you'll know when they're on the mound, but other than that, it's like impossible to tell those two apart. You can't really get a closer right now. Early season trades, unfortunately, really don't happen very often, right? Teams will wait it out. Like, you can get somebody in June. If you go back a few years ago when the Texas Rangers picked up Aroldis Chapman, when they did, I believe it was early June. That's kind of an oddity to even make it happen that early. So hopefully they don't run into any trouble with Jeff Hoffman kind of closing out games early on, or whether or not they kind of go closer by committee and play matchups a little bit more, which they may do and might be better suited to do that. So it is very difficult to find the actual closer at this point. It becomes more about, for me at least, beefing up the bullpen leading up to that ninth inning and giving John Schneider more options.
Is Kenny Rogers still available?
The gambler, I don't think so. I think he has shut it down at this point.
You played against him. He must have.
And with him.
With him.
No, of course. Yeah, great. I mean, what a great lefty, for sure. The nibbler sometimes, because he just lived on the edges. He would hate the ABS system, just like a lot of those 90s and early 2000s pitchers, because you're not getting 6 inches off the plate anymore.
I mentioned Cody Bellinger. Where's he landing? And right now, with the Bo signing, with the Tuckers, he's just his value is increased.
Yeah, driver's seat right now for him is kind of that last big bat that is out there. The Yankees apparently have kind of hit the pause button, or at least put their last offer in. That was reported today by Bob Nightingale at about 5 and 160, $32 million AAV for him, and they're not going to go any further. Sounds like there's some opt-outs in there as well. The New York Mets could use him. The Philadelphia Phillies could use him. The Toronto Blue Jays could use him. It's really good news. And he has an offer from the Yankees, right? So it's a great time to be Cody Bellinger, especially at this point of the offseason right now. I would not be surprised to see Philadelphia slide in and be aggressive. If they had the 7 for 200 on the table for Bo Bichette, as was reported, then they should probably be able to afford that as well for Cody Bellinger, even though he's a couple of years older. The impact and some of the issues they're having in the outfield right now in Philadelphia is a big one. This is a nice plus, certainly for the Blue Jays, and they would not have to offer the 10 for 350 the way that they apparently did for Bo Bichette. But what does it tell you? It tells you that that kind of money is still there and something that they can figure out. Of course, there's a lot of money coming off the table next year, right? Somewhere around $65-70 million in free agents that may not be in a Blue Jays uniform next season. And so because of that, I think you can afford Cody Bellinger, and it would be a nice pivot after losing out on Bo Bichette. The other part for the New York Mets is they probably need him the most. Again, Bo Bichette can opt out next year. There's opt-outs in basically all 3 years or the first 2 years of that contract that he signed with the Mets. And this is that trend that we're seeing. Get a ton of money in 1 year. Alex Bregman just did it. Opt out and then maybe go get your 5 or 6 year deal. So I think Bo Bichette could absolutely be in that situation, which why the New York Mets, for me, makes a little bit more sense to go long-term with Cody Bellinger, but to push any opt-outs back. But he fits on all of them. It's just a matter now who wants to pay the most.
Just want to point this out. No reason in particular. Weed is legal in Canada.
I'm picking up on what you're laying down right now, and I would agree. Yeah, for sure. Nobody seems to be pushing back on that, as you well know. And making your way around the league, the hotels, even the nicest ones, all have a different smell to them these days.
CJ, here's a question for you. We're seeing these players actually go towards these shorter term deals with higher AAVs. How much does what we all seem to speculate will be a work stoppage in the league affect what's going on with contracts right now? And would you not be incentivized to sign a longer term deal, knowing that these deals might get smaller if there's a prolonged stoppage?
Yeah, I think 2 ways to look at it, right? Again, Kyle Tucker, if he wanted to, Bo Bichette, if he wanted to, these guys can become free agents early in the contracts. For Bo, it would be 1 year. For Kyle Tucker, it would be 2. Again, we just saw the example of Alex Bregman, how it worked out for him, right? $42 million on 1 year, and go ahead and opt out and hit free agency again. I think the looming lockout plays a role in this as well, especially what we've seen with some of the signing bonuses. Kyle Tucker got, what was it, a $52 or $57 million, $56 million signing bonus paid this year, and then another $10 million of it paid later. Like, it's just,
Wow.
it's crazy. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, well, we haven't gotten real quick on Kyle Tucker is what his actual salary is per year. Over those 4 years, it's going to average $44 million per year. But when you look at what the Los Angeles Dodgers paid in the signing bonus, what his salary is probably going to be, and their tax that they're going to have to pay, they're in for about $160 million next year alone, out of pocket, just for him. $160 million for Kyle Tucker. So
that's $1 million a game.
It's right. It's absolutely wild. Again, like, people don't look at the
pressure.
tax part of it, but that tax is, because they're at the 110% mark for him, is over $62 million. Again, add the signing bonus, add what likely is going to be a salary. We haven't gotten the breakdown. That's where the draw is, right? Is to go ahead, and obviously he is the extreme, but to be able to get a ton of cash early on, whether it's that you want more flexibility to be a free agent, or whether you have concerns about this potential lockout next year. So go ahead and lock down a bunch of cash that you have, and you get to take it where you want. I mean, the New York Mets are probably going to be sitting on the edge of their seats trying to figure out if Bo has a good year. Okay, now what do we do? I mean, he didn't seem like he fit on that roster anyway, and they're going to ask him to play third base, and maybe he'll be great over there. But they were desperate, and it worked out really well in his favor, and it's worked out in a lot of other players' favor as well.
CJ, thanks for this. Unless you have thoughts on the Bills firing their head coach.
No, I didn't. I saw that, and obviously, I am one-dimensional. However, I don't know if I ever told you this, but former high school teammate of mine is the assistant general manager with the Bills. So I pull hard for them to do well, and it's unfortunate. What do you guys think? That was a catch, wasn't it? Was that not a catch?
No. Yeah, they
It
kept the flags in their pockets all game long, and then all of a sudden.
I don't know. I understand that social media is so polarizing, but I don't know the other sports that well, but I don't think I've ever seen so many opinions of 1,000% that was a catch, 1,000% it wasn't a catch, like all over the place with that one. It was just unfortunate, heartbreaker for Bills fans.
Yeah. Thanks, my friend.
All right, see y'all.
So as we alluded to, the Bills parting ways with Sean McDermott after 6 seasons and a new voice. They can't get over the hump. And I saw some reports saying shocking news. Kyle, to me, this was the least shocking firing that will come after the NFL season is over.
I agree with you, Dan, and it's not a knock on McDermott himself. I think he did a pretty commendable job with this team, but with the roster they have had, they couldn't get over the hump, as you stated, and something had to give. They weren't getting rid of Josh Allen, and they don't have a lot of time left with him at the peak of his powers, the way he plays football. Something had to give. They've got a new stadium opening soon. They need to restart this system. And I feel bad because this is the first year that they got into the playoffs without Patrick Mahomes to face and that villain that he had become to the Buffalo Bills team. But they were just plagued by injuries all season long, and they couldn't come up with a game plan that could get them there. And then if you look, that game went right down to the wire this weekend. They did not lose by much. They were almost in the AFC Championship again. They almost hobbled to the AFC Championship again, but something had to give, and I'm not shocked by the move at all. But what I'm more interested in is who's coming in to replace him, because the marquee coaches have all been signed off the board.
Oh, I got one.
Point. Oh, who do you got?
Mike McDaniel.
Interesting. Maybe
Dolphins fired him. He's a new look. He's completely opposite of McDermott. The flashy new stadium, a coach that has swagger. I don't know if producer Tim's voice or mic is live. He is the biggest Bills fan. Producer Tim, your thoughts on that hiring? Oh, right. Exactly what I expected, and that's why the Bills should do it.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to wait to the offseason at this point. It's hard to imagine any of the coaches still left in the playoffs will lose their jobs at this point. I don't know what the board's going to look like for them, whether they're going to have a transition season next year. But
no, you can't. You can't have a transition season when you open a new stadium.
Is the stadium opening next year? I thought it was the year after.
I keep seeing that it's a state-of-the-art stadium.
Producer
I haven't
Tim,
checked to see if it's this coming season or next. I knew it.
It is this coming season. Oh, they have to put someone good on the board then.
Bills are going to be spenders. They don't want to be embarrassed in a new stadium, and Mike McDaniel will get them the spotlight that they want. Oh, man. He's just a clip machine, and Buffalo would fall in love with him.
They very well could. I mean, he was dealt some weird hands in Miami too. There was a lot of roster change in his time there. I don't know about that one. I would embrace it though, because I do enjoy him on the microphone. I really do.
We have a Leafs discussion coming up later today. We aren't having it. That's EJ Raddick hosting McGuire Monday to dive into the Leafs. Is their trip over now? You saw their Vegas stop.
Yeah, Vegas, Winnipeg on Saturday was the last stop. They squeaked out another overtime win. Good recovery from the overtime loss, but again, I mean, even the loss in Vegas, they got another point in a game, and they do just the one game over the last 13 that they failed to register a point. They're back in business.
They're still baby. They're still outside the wild card picture, chasing the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah. Never thought we'd have that conversation. The Leafs tailing the Buffalo Sabres. Listen, go Leafs go and whatnot, but I would love to see the Buffalo Sabres in the playoffs. It's been a long time.
There's not a single fan in the NHL, I don't think, that isn't rooting for the Sabres to taste the postseason. I don't think there's a real hatred. They don't have a really heated rivalry with anyone. You could create one with the Leafs because of their proximity to one another, but it's not really there.
It's never really been there. I've never quite understood that either. But it's a natural rivalry just over the border. Tons of Leafs fans go to those games. It's a fun night out in Buffalo to attend one of those games. I used to play at their spring training facility, Saberland, when I was like a Pee-wee Atom hockey player. We'd have tournaments there. It was a lot of fun. It was my first taste of international hockey. But I think I got a bit of a soft spot for that team as well, so I'm pulling for them. But we'll see if this Leafs turnaround can continue. I'm sure EJ and Pierre will have a lot of thoughts on that.
Visit Saberland, followed by the outlet malls. Kyle, be safe in Reno. See you later.